Good evening. Tonight, police in Lagos beef up security at Lekki toll gate ahead of tomorrow's planned protest by some youths. Partial wins are not enough. Youth Representative Rinu Odwala tells Lagos Judicial Panel probing shooting at EndSARS protesters as she recuses herself. Northern Elders Forum moves to douse tension in the country as governors of Bauchi and Benue states trade words over farmer herder crisis. And Trump's legal team calls Senate impeachment trial a witch hunt, denies he incited January 6 riots at the US Capitol. Plus, you'll see business sports later, international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari approves creation of company with 1 trillion naira initial fund to boost infrastructure development in the country.
On sports news, top seed Novak Djokovic survives injury scare to reach the Australian Open fourth round after a labored victory over Taylor Fritz.
And from Abuja, Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje clamors for zoning of presidency to southern Nigeria ahead of 2023 elections.
With just a few hours to the planned protest at the Lekki toll gate by some aggrieved youths, police authorities in the state have launched a show of force exercise to express its disapproval of the protest. This is also coming less than 24 hours after the federal and state governments warned youths not to embark on the protest as it may be hijacked by hoodlums and lead to lawlessness. Policemen from the rapid response team staged a walk round the toll gate as they prepared to take positions in the area and other parts of the state. With the hashtag Occupy Lekki, the aggrieved youths had faulted the repossession of the Lekki toll gates by the Judicial Panel of Inquiry on police brutality and human rights abuse. A counter group with a hashtag Defend Lagos also scheduled its protest at the same venue. Police authorities maintain the protests will not be allowed. Meanwhile, one of the youth representatives who is also part of the organizers of the EndSARS protest, Rinu Odwala, has opted out of the panel of inquiry into the shooting of the EndSARS protesters in Lagos. 4 members of the panel, including Ms. Odwala, had faulted the decision of the panel, but the chairman of the panel, retired Justice Doris Okwobi, and 4 other members acceded to LCC's request to repossess the toll gate. Ms. Odwala said in a statement which reads in part, "My stand on the reopening of the toll gate remains clear. The state government and the private organization which operates the toll have not been cleared of collusion with elements allegedly deployed by the federal government to target Nigerian citizens on home soil during a time of peace without provocation." She went on to say that justice has not been served, and as a representative of the Nigerian citizenry, my only recourse is to stay the course of justice. What I will not do is be part of a cover-up. The activist who faults the planned reopening of the Lekki toll gate maintains that justice has not been served to victims of the Lekki shootings of October 20, 2020. And notwithstanding, the panel of inquiry continued its sitting today as it listened to more petitions against the defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad and the police. One of the petitioners, Adobe Uligwe, told the panel today that she and her 1-year-old baby were hit by a commercial vehicle being chased by a van owned by LCC, which also had policemen as occupants on July the 9th, 2019. The petitioner survived the incident, but the skull of her baby girl, whom she had after waiting for 8 years, was fractured, killing the child instantly. She's seeking justice in the matter. Another petitioner, Uzo Chukwu, narrated how his 16-year-old son was hit by a stray bullet on the 11th of March 2018 when policemen tried to stop a crowd from beating a woman suspected of kidnapping in Lagos. He told the panel that the child was taken to the morgue by police, but because he didn't have the funds to bury him immediately, the police gave the child a mass burial without his knowledge. The petitioner is demanding financial compensation from the police. Meanwhile, over to the nation's capital, Abuja, the National Human Rights Commission Independent Investigation Panel has ordered the Nigeria Police Force to open its defense on March the 15th, 2021. It is part of efforts to unravel the truth in the petition alleging brutality by the defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad filed by a private security guard, Francis Ogbaji. The chairman of the panel, Justice Sulaiman Galadima, gave the order at the resumed hearing after listening to the petitioner who alleged that he was unlawfully detained, tortured and dehumanized for 35 days in 2020 over the theft of a plasma television at his place of work.
After the investigation, we gave our statement, then we were detained on the 11th of April. We were there the 4 days. After the 4 days, the case was transferred to Lekki. So after that, they will come and took us to Lekki command. After going there, they will return us back to the central area police station. And then for some while, like 2 weeks to close. And on the 28th, the case was transferred to SARS. And all this while, we were there, not feeding. So our family and come, if they didn't come, that's how we for that day, they investigated that we should provide the missing items. I said, for me, I don't know anything about the missing items. And I don't know how to provide it. So after that, they now moved our case to the transfer to SARS. We were in SARS there on the 28th of April 2020. They were brought out for investigations, and they asked us the same question they asked from the central police station, and I repeated, I said, I don't know anything.
And to other stories, the farmer herder crisis across the country is brewing tension among some governors, notably the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, and Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State. While Governor Mohammed believes that some of his colleagues are inflaming ethnic tension on the issue, specifically taking a swipe at Governor Samuel Otom, the latter describes his comments as disappointing. This report by our correspondent, Orolu Ashonibare, looks at the bane of the problem.
If a state of emergency is not declared on security in this country, we may wake up one day and discover that we have no country.
What does it take to declare a state of emergency in a country? Cases of natural disasters, civil unrest, armed conflict, medical pandemic, or other biosecurity risks are some issues that qualify.
There are procedures to follow before you come into Nigeria.
The call by the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, stems from a series of events that are now approaching boiling points in the country. The farmers and herders crisis, one of the many security challenges in Nigeria, has been going on for some time. Farmlands have been destroyed and many have been killed. Allegations that the herdsmen hire militia for protection have been made. Some arrests have also been made by security agencies, but that does not appear to deter the act. The Northern Governors Forum is equally making attempts at bringing the crisis to an end by endorsing ranching. This was met with a lot of commendation across the country, but for the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, who says the rights of a tribe is being infringed upon and blames some governors for inciting ethnic aggression. He slammed Governor Samuel Otom for, according to him, leading the charge.
You have seen what our colleagues in the Southwest are doing, and some of them from the Southeast. Some of us told them with all modesty and humility, you are wrong. But the person that is most wrong is the governor of Benue State, my brother and my colleague, Governor Otto. And now, because a Fulani man is practicing the tradition of transhumance, pastoralism, he has been exposed to the vagaries of the forest, the animals, and now the cattle rustlers who carry guns, kill him and take away his commonwealth, that is the cows. He had no option but to carry AK-47 because the society and the government are not protecting him. What is his fault? It's the fault of the government and the people. You don't criminalize all of them. Nobody owns any forest. The forest is owned by Nigeria. Under Section 23, 24, 25 of the Constitution, every Nigerian is free to stay anywhere.
Governor Autumn has hit back at his colleague with words of caution, reminding of the number of people killed by armed herders, and insists all he and majority of Nigerians seek is peaceful coexistence. What is acceptable to one may not go down well with the other, is what this back and forth is turning out to be. Hopefully, all parties will sit together to chart a path of attaining a much-needed tranquil state. Orolu Ashunibare, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Northern Elders Forum is raising concern over what it describes as the dangers of sustained attempts to raise tensions and create fears among Nigerians. In a statement by its Director, Publicity and Advocacy, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, the forum states that the trend could lead to major crises involving groups and regions in the country if not checked. It emphasizes that the nation is currently facing imminent threats from persons who are bent on pushing Nigeria to disaster. In the words of the forum, there are efforts to create multiple sources of falsehood in videos and other inflammatory materials in the media, clearly targeted at inciting people to act violently against each other. Allegations of planned or actual genocide are being made with reckless abandon, and even the international community is being lobbied in futile efforts to sell the fiction that some groups are intent on mass extermination of other groups. While making known its readiness to continue to work to retrieve the country from the danger, it says it has plans to meet with governors in the north and south and visit communities to improve responsible collaboration and synergy. The forum urges the president to consult and explore ways aimed at lowering the present tension and assure everyone that laws have meanings in Nigeria. Well, the Oyo State government is calling for calm following the violence that broke out today at Shasha Market, a popular market for groceries in Ibadan, the state capital. The crisis erupted following a dispute between a woman and a casual laborer in the market, which escalated to a fight, leading to the death of one person. The special advisor to the state governor on security, who was accompanied by the police commissioner and garrison commander during a visit to the scene, appealed for calm among the groups.
The usual hustle and bustle associated with one of the largest pepper markets at Shasha in Ibadan. But it's a totally different scene presently following the outbreak of violence. The crisis started on the 9th of February the 11th with two people engaging in an argument, leading to one of them slumping after being hit by the other. He was rushed to the hospital, but reports say he died in the morning. This is the outcome of the outrage that engulfed the market as tempers flared. Homes and shops have been razed and people injured. Tension remains high, but the traders in the market want government to help them restore normalcy.
All this violence going on is unacceptable, and we are not in support of it. Please, help us appeal to government to put a stop to all of it. Both Hausa and Yoruba are one, and violence isn't the solution at all.
The special advisor to Governor Makinde on security, Fatai Owosheni, is at the scene along with security agents to assess the situation.
You can see that we are doing with the garrison commander, the commissioner of police, is how to calm the tension, and we are working with the identified leaders with a view to, calming the youths. Further action will be taken, but the most important thing now is to, calm the tension that is on ground.
Police say efforts are on to restore peace to the market, as all the relevant parties are currently being engaged on ways of ending the violence.
In part two, after the break, UK Supreme Court rules in favour of Niger Delta communities in suit against Royal Dutch Shell over decades of pollution in the Niger Delta. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder about top stories. Police in Lagos beef up security at Lekki toll gate ahead of Saturday's planned protest by some youths. Partial wins are not enough. Youth representative Rinu Douala tells Lagos judicial panel probing alleged killing of EndSARS protesters as she recuses herself. Northern Elders Forum moves to douse tension in the country as governors of Bauchi and Benue states trade words over farmerhood crisis. And Trump's legal team calls Senate impeachment trial a witch hunt, denies he incited January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Now, youths in the country have been urged to avoid being used as instruments of violence, but instead focus on developing their skills to achieve their potential. Speaking at the second edition of Stano Entrepreneurship and Youth Empowerment Masterclass in Oka, the Anambra State capital, senior government officials and business leaders challenge youths to take part in nation-building initiatives and impact younger generations.
The atmosphere, the Stano world, guests, dignitaries who've been lined up to deliver inspiring messages to youths in the country.
Businessmen seated here who are going to be sharing ideas.
Inside the Stano Dome is a cross-section of youths of different age range, ready to be part of the annual Entrepreneurship and Youth Empowerment Program. Kicking off the event is the Chief Executive Officer of Stano World, Mr. Stanley Uzochukwu. He believes that the recent uptick in insecurity across the country can be averted if the government takes more proactive steps.
The recent happening in our dear country today has become a very critical concern for people like us who are futuristic in our ideologies. How can we burn down a facility or a business that has brought development to our community? I think as young people, we need to channel our energy towards a more productive venture and towards nation building.
Believe in God.
According to the keynote speaker, Oscar Onyema, youths must not allow themselves to be used as agents of disunity in the country.
I'm not defending any ethnicity, but I think we should shun hate. I think we should look for solutions. If there's war in this country, all the big men seated here, including me, will be out of this place in 5 seconds. You will be here. Do not let anybody, whether an Igbo man or non-Igbo, push you into believing that the only way to get the problems of Igbos to be solved is to engage in brigandage.
For a former CBN governor, Professor Charles Soludo, risk-taking, qualitative and accessive education will go a long way in shaping the lives of the youths.
The public education in many parts of Nigeria has collapsed and spewing out largely unemployable graduates. The EndSARS protests and thousands of our youths involved in the criminal economy should be a wake-up call for all of us. As somebody says, someday, and it's already around the corner, if we don't take care of the poor and the vulnerable, the more than 80% that are largely vulnerable, a day will come when the rich will not be able to sleep because these poor people are awake.
At this second edition, the organizers say an empowerment grant of 2 million naira has been set aside to support the business of 4 of these youths.
Let's head now to our Abuja studios where Linda Kigwe has some more stories. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Welcome to Abuja. The Nigerian Bar Association has filed a suit to challenge the extension of a tenure of Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu by the President. NBA President Olumide Akpata said in a statement that the association is seeking a judicial determination of the constitutionality of the President's extension of Mr. Adamu's tenure as Inspector General of Police for 3 months after the IGP had attained 35 years of service as a member of the Nigeria Police Force on February the 1st this year. The NBA said, in its view, the President's extension of Mr. Adamu's tenure by 3 months is unconstitutional. Apart from the President, others joined in the suit are the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Police Service Commission, and Mr. Mohammed Adamu. The UK Supreme Court has ruled that polluted Nigerian communities can sue all giant Shell in English courts. The decision overturns a previous appeal court ruling and represents a victory after a 5-year legal battle. The Niger Delta communities say decades of pollution have severely impacted their lives, health and local environment. Shell had argued it was only a holding company for a firm that should be judged under Nigerian law. The Supreme Court, the UK's final appeal court for civil cases, rules that the cases brought by the Bile community and the Ogali people of Ogoni land against Royal Dutch Shell were arguable and could proceed in the English courts. Royal Dutch Shell did not dispute that pollution had been caused, but argued it could not be held legally responsible for its Nigerian subsidiary and that the pollution was the result of crude oil theft, pipeline sabotage and illegal refining. Last year, the Court of Appeal agreed with the company, but the Supreme Court today said that decision was flawed. This has come in barely 2 weeks after a Dutch appeals court ruled that the oil giant is liable to pay 4 farmers in the Niger Delta compensation over oil pollution in their communities. To politics. As a race for the 2023 presidency and zoning is getting to a fevered pitch, the governor of Kano State, Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, is seeking that the next president should be zoned to the southern part of the country. Governor Ganduje, who spoke in an exclusive interview with our political correspondent Seun Baloye, also opens up on why he removed the deposed Emir of Kano, Lamido Sanusi. According to him, the deposed Emir is a celebrated social critic whose utterances were at variance with his role as a traditional ruler of an institution.
In this 2023, I believe there will be a consensus, even if people are allowed to contest from all parts of the country. But I know there will be a consensus on whom should be allowed to win the election.
Morally speaking, what do you think will be fair and where should the zoning go?
I think the zoning should be respected as a strategy of winning an election.
Which particular zone?
Well, the southern part of the country. But that should be a consensus of the members.
On the former Emir, Muhammad Sanusi.
Yeah.
What is the real story behind the situation at the time?
Well, the real story is that the Emir of Kano, the deposed Emir of Kano, did not understand the responsibilities of a traditional ruler, especially for a strong institution with that of Kano. You see, the Emir of Kano was a social critic, a celebrated social critic. But the liability of that institution, you have to watch your words. You have to watch your tongue. And he didn't do that. That was a problem. That was the biggest problem, that he could not change his mode of life from social critic to an institution. As of now, that institution does not afford a social critic of his type, not weakening his powers. His powers are not more important than the development of the people. His powers are not more important than the aspirations of the people. His powers are not more important than the historical antecedents of these people. That is the situation. So it was not the creation of the Emirates in order to punish him. It was not like that. But he had no power to challenge. Was he not created out of law? Was he not a legal instrument that made him the Emir of Kano? Then why is he challenging legal instruments to create other Emirs?
Away from politics, police authorities have confirmed the death of a 16-year-old girl after a hit-and-run driver lost control and rammed into her. According to the police area commander in Shongota area of the state, the killing led to a public disturbance by youths who blocked the Abeokuta-Shongota expressway. But normalcy seems to have been restored as men and officers of the state police command have been deployed to the area to maintain peace and order.
Igede community in Wasimi area of Ogun State was thrown into mourning on Thursday when Blessing Godwin, a 16-year-old junior secondary school student of United Comprehensive High School, was knocked down and killed on her way to school by a hit-and-run driver.
We got the information that motor hit somebody when he was going to school after dressing. So he's the one who carried the load to the market with the mother. So on dressing, and he went to the school. So after crossing the first distance, he was there when the motor come and kill her all the way. And we don't even know that it is our daughter in the first place. So that was what we got. On getting there, we wanted to see the principal, what actually happened, but it was all was avoided.
Parents of the victim, family members and sympathizers are struggling to come to terms with the reality of losing their daughter. 45-year-old peasant farmer and father of late Blessing seeks government assistance to enable the family take the remains of his daughter for burial in Benue State.
I want the government to help me so that we can be able to carry the corpse back to my town. If possible, that the state government can be able to help me, I will thank God, because the death of this girl pains a lot. So that's it. That's what I can say.
Following the incident, angry youths blocked the Abeokuta-Songo expressway, preventing vehicles from both sides of the road and setting the vehicle ablaze to express their anger. The police area commander in charge of Songo-Ota, who led officers to restore order, condemns jungle justice and calls for calm.
We are warning them again. They should drop the culture of violence. Accident is different from action. Whoever that does that will have consequences for his action or inaction. Whoever that joins, that procure, that assists, will have himself to blame.
Blessing Godwin was a student with dreams and a future, but all of that has been cut short in the blink of an eye.
When the News at 10 returns, President Muhammadu Buhari approves creation of company with 1 trillion naira initial fund to boost infrastructure development in the country. That's in business news. Join us again.
One person has been burnt to death in a diesel-laden tanker explosion along Ijebu-Ode-Ogbere Expressway in Ogun State. The spokesperson of the Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Committee confirmed that the accident occurred this morning and was caused by reckless driving by the driver of the tanker, who was alone in the truck. According to him, the make and registration number of the tanker could not be ascertained due to the level of explosion. While appealing to vehicle drivers, especially tanker drivers, to avoid reckless driving, excessive speed and drunk driving, he advised them to have adequate rest before embarking on any journey in order to avoid accidents. And if all goes according to plan, the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Lautech, Ogbomoso, may soon become a conventional university. This is according to the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, who spoke while receiving a report of the Oyo State Negotiating Committee on the institution. He noted that since the Lautech Ogbomoso 2020 bill has been signed into law, the state would apply to change the university from a technology university to a conventional university so that it could be strengthened and enabled to handle other courses outside technology.
I am pleased to say that I've signed the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology Ogbomoso Bill 2020 into law. We will apply to the National Universities Commission to convert from a University of Technology to a conventional university so that courses such as law can be taught at the institution. College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences will open its campus in Isheyin this year.
To some company news, one of Nigeria's digital bank, Hope Payment Service Bank, has rolled out its enrollment for the National Identity Number registration. At a press event in Lagos, the managing director of Hope PS Bank said this exercise comes on the heels of the federal government's licensing of 173 private sector agents to conduct the exercise. Nigerians are required to register on the bank's website and proceed to one of its registration centers to complete the procedure.
This is an event characterized by the COVID-19 prevention rules. Here, officials of Hope Payment Service Bank, a digital bank, says getting a national identification number NIN just got easier as it rolls up activities in this direction as a partner to the federal government.
In order to accommodate all citizens in getting enrolled, NIMSI registered over 170 agents, and we in Hope PS Bank have partnered as a sub-agent under Unified Payments in order to give Nigerians an easier opportunity for enrollment.
And the process is not difficult. Just access the Hope PS Bank website to fill a registration form and then proceed to one of its data capture centers.
Go to any of our locations with just their phone numbers, and the forms will come up, and all they will need to do at that center is the capture of their biometrics. That will reduce, the staying time at each location. Ours is free, in line with the directives of the government, and it will remain free.
At one of its data capture centers on Victoria Island, enrollees take turns to register for NIN, a process one of them says brings a lot of relief.
Somebody directed me here, so that's why I came here today. Very fast, I'll say it was fast, smooth and fast.
The digital bank is not limiting NIN to its customers alone.
Unified payment to render this service to the general public, so any and everyone. Just like our mission statement would say, we are available for any and everyone. It's available to come to any one of our regional offices and all the outlets who are going to empower to do their NIN registration.
Hope PS Bank, which describes itself as Nigeria's premier digital bank, was incorporated in September 2019 and leverages digital technologies to deliver inclusive financial services.
NIN registration made easier. We have some business news now. Here's Teniola Shibowale.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the establishment of an infrastructure financing company for Nigeria with an initial seed capital of 1 trillion naira. A statement from the presidency notes that the company, termed InfraCo, will be a public-private partnership and will grow to have assets and capital valued at 15 trillion naira. It adds that the initial capital will be sourced from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA, and the Africa Finance Corporation. The statement mentions that InfraCo will finance public asset development, rehabilitation and reconstruction, as well as invest in cutting-edge infrastructure projects for roads, rail, power, and other key sectors. The African Development Bank is collaborating with the African Guarantee Fund to facilitate between $1.3 to $2 billion in loans for women entrepreneurs in Africa through a partnership with financial institutions. In a statement released on its website, the AFDB says the move signals the launch of its Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa initiative, which aims to make available up to $3 billion in financing for women entrepreneurs through de-risking and technical assistance measures. The bank explains that financial institutions in Cameroon, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda are already signing on to the program. About 167 billion naira is knocked off from the total value of listed equities today at the NSE as investors end the second trading week of February with a renewed profit-taking. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. In what appeared to be a green light for the bull yesterday happened to be just a mirage, as the bear wasted no time to reestablish itself. That move pulled down the index by 1.40%. As at midday, the drop was quite massive, but later in the session, we saw some moderation. The trader I spoke to earlier said there's no cause for alarm as things are gradually coming back to normal. Well, when you look at the sectoral chart, you will tend to believe so, as both the banking and consumer goods sectors were in the green. The cement giants, Dangote Cement and Bois Cement, were the spoilers here, dealing a big blow to the industrial sector, as we can see here. Look at the activity chart. Over 395 million shares were traded for about 5 billion naira in over 5,000 deals. The bargain hunting in the banking sector contributed to the amount recorded today. The top trade happens to be Zenith Bank. I must say the market has really recorded some losses this week. The week-to-date close is down 3.04%. Hopefully next week we'll begin to see some cherry pickings on these stocks, which might in turn move the index sunny side. It's back to you.
Thanks a lot, Laddie. Meanwhile, stock markets across the United States and Europe closed the day with positive sentiment, despite reports that the UK economy fell by a record 9.9% in 2020. Well, let's take a look at some of the global market figures for Friday. And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Teniola Shoboale. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Teniola. Since the news of his passing broke, encomiums have been pouring in for the former governor of Lagos State, Lateef Jakande. The late Chief Jakande has been described as the man of the people who has impacted lives of citizens positively, especially in Lagos. Dignitaries have been thronging the residence of the former governor in the Lukbeju area of the state.
The Lukbeju area of Lagos is where the first civilian governor of Lagos State, Lateef Jakande, spent his entire life. The area is a beehive of activities as family, friends, dignitaries, including the state deputy governor, former governor of Ogun State, and many others, are here to pay their last respect. A special prayer session is holding in honor of the late Alhaji Lateef Jakande. It is difficult to control the crowd here, but for those who cannot make their way into the premises, a viewing screen is made available. Even though he died at an old age, his children say their father's death was unexpected as they were gearing up for his 92nd birthday.
At 91, we didn't have any plans what to do, where to bury him. There was absolutely nothing. It wasn't expected at all.
It's been wonderful. It has taught us to be contented and, it takes care of us.
Some of the dignitaries here speak on the legacies of the former governor.
As a human being,
you can't be totally positive, but all we saw was the positive part of it. A great man that served his people when they had the opportunity, that cared for people, was a fantastic journalist.
What he did as governor is still unprecedented, and generations upon generations will come and emulate it. So we pray for our John of Redas for him. We pray the Almighty Allah forgives his sins.
Even those who served the state about 40 years ago with the late Jakande explained the role he played in developing Lagos.
They had the interest of the masses in his heart all the time. Was to make sure that the housing scheme we built, which was then sold for about 18,000. We sold it for 6,000 for 6 bedrooms and 5,000 for 2 bedrooms.
His administration as a governor is still a reference point in the country in terms of massive infrastructural development and provision of affordable housing and huge investment in education across the state. He also initiated the rail network meant to traverse the metropolis on the red and blue lines.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Trump's legal team calls Senate impeachment trial a witch hunt, denies he incited January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Please stay with us. It's day 4 of Donald Trump's impeachment trial, and his lawyers have presented evidence in the U.S. Senate denying charges he incited insurrection in the Capitol riots of 6 January. In his opening remarks, defense attorney Michael Van der Veen called the impeachment a politically motivated witch hunt. He also argued that Mr. Trump's rhetoric was protected by the U.S. Constitution's free speech guarantee and that prosecutors had not directly connected the actions of the rioters to the former president. Well, let's head over to our London studios where Simon Pusey has more on this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Some 300 Myanmar MPs have urged the United Nations to investigate gross human rights violations they allege have been carried out by the military. In a letter to the agency's Human Rights Council in Geneva, MPs accused Myanmar's security forces of shooting anti-coup protesters. Fresh mass protests are taking place against the coup, defying a plea from its leader to join hands with the military. They remained mostly peaceful, although at least 3 protesters were reportedly wounded. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said Russia is ready to sever ties with the EU if Brussels imposes new economically painful sanctions. The EU has raised the prospect of further sanctions amid a row over the treatment of the jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. When an interviewer asked if Russia was heading for a break with the EU, Mr. Lavrov said, "We're ready for that," adding, "If you want peace, prepare for war." He said a break in ties could be triggered by EU sanctions that creates risks for our economy, including in the most sensitive areas. Last week, Russia and the EU expelled 3 of each other's diplomats in a tit-for-tat dispute centering on the Navalny case.
If business is mutually beneficial, we will continue it. But in the event that we again see sanctions imposed in some sectors that create risks for our economy, yes, we don't want to isolate ourselves from global life, but we have to be ready for that. If you want peace, then prepare for war.
Authorities in Ethiopia have confirmed incidents of rape took place in the conflict-hit Tigray region in the wake of a military offensive against the local ruling party. It comes after the UN said it had received reports of a high number of incidents of sexual violence and abuse in the region. The minister said a task force is still processing data to establish the number of victims. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed launched a ground and air offensive on the 4th of November to oust the region's ruling party after its troops captured federal military bases. At least 130 vehicles were involved in a massive and deadly morning car pileup along a stretch of highway in Texas, leaving at least 6 people dead and many more dozens injured. Aerial images from the crash site, which a local official said stretched for about half a mile, showed multiple large tractor-trailer trucks piled on top of one another, with numerous vehicles crushed and wedged between them. Some 65 people were treated at area hospitals and at least 6 people lost their lives.
As you've heard, we're all coming to you with heavy hearts today. The scene we saw today is one really unlike one probably any of us have ever seen, and one we pray to God we never see again. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers go out to everyone negatively affected by this tragic incident, anyone who was injured, anyone who lost someone, all the family and loved ones of those who are affected. We feel your pain.
Chinese New Year celebrations have begun across the world, with millions of people marking the start of a new lunar year. The Spring Festival begins on the start of a new moon, and the festival lasts for up to 16 days. People eat lots of food, enjoy fireworks, wear special clothes and hang red lanterns to mark the occasion. This year is the year of the ox, an animal that symbolises strength and determination. Light shows are particularly popular across Asia. Usually hundreds of millions of people travel great distances in the lead up to the new year as they go to spend time with family, but this year the government has discouraged people from leaving their homes. Conservationists in Chile have been carrying out a census count of the South American country's population of endangered Humboldt penguins. On the tiny Cachagua Island Nature Reserve, an important habitat for the Humboldt penguin, park rangers from Chile's Forestry Service have been slowly counting the numbers of endangered animals living on the island. Humboldt penguins are considered a vulnerable species and have undergone extreme population size fluctuations. According to researchers, there are an estimated 2,500 to 10,000 mature individual Humboldt penguins left in the wild. And finally, in response to the global pandemic, a bakery in Germany has decided to inject a little sugar and humour into the coronavirus crisis. The Riedmeier confectionery sells its syringe-filled donuts near Munich. The syringes containing an array of sugary ingredients in a play on mass vaccinations of their donuts. The special Corona donut will be on sale from Monday and will be the so-called Donut of the Week. Many customers are already looking forward to the vaccinated donuts, as a little carnival fun is a must in Germany. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to Channel Studios in Lagos.
And the main news again. Police in Lagos today beefed up security at the Lekki toll gate area of the city ahead of Saturday's planned protest by some youths who are kicking against the reopening of the toll gates, and another group that says it is defending Lagos. Also today, the Northern Elders Forum moved to douse the tension in the country as governors of Bauchi and Benue states continue their war of words over the farmer-herder crisis. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night. Stay safe.